Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you after a 34-10 and yet another embarrassing loss at home for the Dallas Cowboys. It's hard to come up with adjectives to describe the amount of suck that you're watching as some of these games pass by. Cowboys lose their fifth game in a row. We are going to get into everything here in just a little bit. All of the scoring, all the highlights. I think there were a couple in there. The box score review, all that stuff. We'll talk about where the Cowboys go from here. We'll take your comments, we'll take your questions, and more. But first, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Cowboys, and especially the Cowboys during the NFL season. Thank you for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Dallas Cowboys post-game content. Like I said, you got something to say, drop it in the comments. We'll throw it up there eventually. Tough game to be a Dallas Cowboys fan today. The last thing I want to do is try and make this seem any better than it is. I don't know where the Cowboys really go from here beyond trying to get that number one overall pick in the draft. But I got to be honest, I'm at a place of negativity right now where I don't even feel like the Cowboys would do well with the number one pick in the draft. Like, would they even make the right decision if the number one pick in the draft was staring them in the face? That honestly is where I'm at after a loss right now with the Cowboys. Today, I saw a few things. First of all, early on, did not look like anybody really wanted to win this game. I mean, the Texans, look, I know it ends up being a 34-10 game. Did anyone walk away really thinking the Texans are an elite football team, regardless of what the record says? And I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm really not trying to be a hater. I think you look at the Lions game, for example. In the Lions game, that was a clear and utter beatdown. Like, never close. You never felt like the Cowboys had a chance in this one. You feel like the Texans really are kind of at a place where, yeah, the record is what, 6-4. I mean, you're over 500, but I mean, look, they were within one possession of the Cowboys in the third quarter. I mean, seriously, one possession. It would have been a one possession game had they decided to keep those Aubrey points on the board. The 64-yard field goal. It's a one-possession game in the second half against the lowly Cowboys. Again, not trying to be a hater, but if you're a Texans fan, do you really feel great after the win today? I think you walk away thinking we beat a team that's awful, pretty bad, and we really didn't even play our best football. Look, absolutely got to give it up to the Texans for turning it on in the second half. But this game, like I said, was one possession. If they keep those points on the board after the Aubrey field goal, the 64-yarder, it's a one possession game. It's a one possession game. And we're going to talk about that. I know that there's probably going to be some mixed opinions on that Aubrey 64-yard kick that was taken off the board. I know that most coaches are going to take the first down in that situation. I think if you look back at all the different moments where there's been an opportunity on a field goal and you have the chance to get a first down, I would be interested to see what the numbers say, but I really don't think a lot of coaches are keeping the points on the board. I would love to see the numbers. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of coaches probably are taking the first down in that spot. Now, personally, for me, I would have kept the points on the board, and here's why. You have an offense that's basically been terrible the entire game, and nothing that Cooper Rush has shown you over the past several games would lead you to believe that they are going to turn into a juggernaut on offense in the second half. My opinion, you take the points. You got a backup quarterback that's basically sucked for his entire, 3-4 game stint. Keep the points on the board. And then on the 4th and 2, I mean, you get all the way down there at that point. You knew he wasn't kicking the field goal on the 4th and 2 that they didn't end up getting. My thing is, you drove all the way down there. You killed time. If you just take the points, it's a 20-13 ball game. You're kicking off, and you've still got the fourth quarter and change to work with. It probably wouldn't have made a difference. I'm seeing some of y'all chime in. Look, obviously, we're going to break down everything on the show, or as much as we can. Clearly, the field goal doesn't make a difference at the end of the game. 100%. Absolutely. I don't think I'm sitting here trying to pretend that it would. All we're doing is breaking things down. And that, I think, was a big moment. That would have made it 20-13. Who knows? I think you keep everybody more engaged at that moment in time. Everybody's more engaged when it's 20-13 versus 20-10. Texans got the ball back, and now they have a chance to go up even bigger. I just think you keep the defense engaged, you keep the offense engaged, you keep the entire team's spirits up, keeping those 3 points on the board, one possession game. I think if Dak was in there, you probably do take the first down. With Cooper Rush and a struggling offense, I feel like I would not be taking the points off the board. Take the 3, take the time on the clock, and go ahead and try and give your team a chance on the defensive side of the ball right after that. It wasn't meant to be, as some of y'all said, didn't end up making a difference anyways. I'm going to go ahead and get into some comments here. I know a lot of y'all got some things to say tonight. I'm going to sift through as much as I can. I'll go through all the comments, the substance. If we get the number 1 pick, surely we trade it. I agree. I don't think that the Cowboys are going to want the responsibility of the number 1 pick, if that makes sense. I think it's much easier, especially since you have a quarterback already. And look, I know Dak is polarizing, but let's be honest. We are not going to see the Cowboys draft a quarterback number 1 next year if the Cowboys did get the number 1 pick in the draft. I still think they're probably going to end up top 5. I don't think that they're going to be dead last. If they are, then they are. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to be stubborn. If they get the number 1 pick in the draft, I would imagine they trade it away as well. Less pressure. You trade down, you get some capital. I really do not have any clue. Do not have any clue what the Cowboys would do in a situation like that, though. I think they do. You think they do. And then they do something totally off script that it just doesn't make any sense. So for me, I would probably want to see them trade a number 1 pick away. They're definitely not going to go ahead and draft a quarterback. So I don't know why anybody would be assuming that's going to happen. I'll keep on going, though. Keep on rolling through. Yeah, I know maybe it does sound like hating on the Texans, but again, try and be objective. I really don't feel like anybody walks away from this game thinking the Texans are awesome. Yeah, they had some nice performances. I'm not trying to be a hater, but I am trying to be honest. Throw 55 times and score 10 points. Yep. That's about right. Let's keep losing for picks. Yep. I think that's got to be the plan. I mean, with Zach Martin going down, Smith going down, I mean, with all of those guys now injured, who knows how long they're going to be out. I really don't know why you would be incentivized to be going after wins at this point. I don't know if you go full on tank. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to allow the Cowboys and the coaches to do that. Just doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. I don't think you're going to see Jerry support an all-out tank. It's honestly what the Cowboys need to do at this point. They need to get as many picks and things of that nature, as much capital saved up as they can. Not saying they're going to do something positive or good with it, but at this point, you got to start playing it next year. I would have liked to have seen the Cowboys maybe try and trade away some more players. I think that they were a little bit in denial at the trade deadline. What was that, a couple of weeks ago? I think they were in denial. I think they probably would have done well to try and offload some players at the deadline. I think they were holding on to hope at that point. I know Dak injury hadn't quite happened yet, but I think you could have made some smart moves at the deadline to try and set yourself up well for next year, where you're not totally crippling the team, but you are making a positive impact on the future for 2025. Let me keep going. We'll work our way through. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate it. What do we think about McCarthy? Yeah, I think McCarthy is 100% out for next year. I don't see any way in which McCarthy is going to be coming back. I really think that honestly, they could have moved on from him after last season. You get embarrassed at home by Green Bay in the playoffs. I don't think anybody felt great about Mike McCarthy coming back. I know I didn't. I don't know a Cowboys fan at all. I know quite a few Boys fans. I did not know a single soul that felt great about Mike McCarthy running it back this next year. I think a lot of people would have rather have seen Dan Quinn stick around. I think you could have gone with some of the coaches that are on the market still currently, a Vrabel type, Belichick. Not that Belichick and Jerry Jones might mix well. You would think Belichick would want a lot of control. Not sure Jerry Jones is going to give it up. But I don't think Mike McCarthy sticks around. I don't know how he could at this point. Regardless of the Dak injury, I really think you've got to consider what you're seeing right now on the field. You know, when Dak went down a couple years ago in 2022 and Cooper Rush took over, you saw a galvanized group, right? They went 4-1 in 2022 with Cooper Rush. You're seeing almost the exact opposite of that right now. I really don't know who looks at the job Mike McCarthy's doing. I know he doesn't have a ton to work with. It's how it goes sometimes in the NFL. It's not always explicitly the coach's fault, but at the same time, I don't think anybody's looking at this Cowboys team thinking they're playing any way inspired football. And I think McCarthy's on the way out. I think you totally start fresh next year. I would love to see them bring in a Cliff Kingsbury, a Mike Vrabel, somebody new. I think that they have got to get a totally clean house at this point. I think you start from the ground up in a lot of different ways. I think coaching is one of them. I think you've got to go with some new faces in the locker room as well. I don't know how much overhaul there's going to be when it comes to players, but I really do feel like in a lot of ways, you've got the key pieces. You've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got Parsons. You've got Dak. You've got a few other guys in there. Overshown, good quality guys to build around. I think they could really, really stand to have a nice house cleaning at the end of the year. And I think with Dak being injured and the season being what it is, it's a good opportunity to do that. But if they're just going to go cheap again, like I know a couple of y'all are saying Jerry's just going to be cheap. If they're just going to be cheap again, yeah, it is what it is. You're going to have similar results to this. But I do think that there are ways that the Cowboys can get better for next year. It's just really going to come down to the front office. What is the front office willing to do? Are they going to keep being hard-headed? Probably, because that's what the track record has been for the past 30 years. But that is, I think, what they need to do. I think it's a great time to do it. You've got a coach on an expiring contract. You kind of had a weird year with Dak going down and a lot of injuries. I just think that the Cowboys would really do well from a reset, not a rebuild per se, but just a very solid reset. Coaching staff, maybe a little player scouting in there, some player personnel as well. Let me keep going. Keep going. Fake punt worked so well. Yeah, that fake punt was ugly. I mean, you'd rather have left the offense out there at that point. But look, Brian Anger, 1 for 1 on the day. Shoot, I mean, it was a decent pass, just like totally blown up afterwards. But Brian Anger, man, I mean, he did his job. But I'll tell you what, the Cowboys, I think they were just desperate there. Mike McCarthy, you're overthinking, I should say, that one a lot. You should have just punted the ball away. If you wanted to go for it, just line up and get the 6 or 7 yards, whatever they needed. But those plays right there, like the fake punt, and then I think taking the points off the board would have been a 20-13 game. You've got a backup quarterback. Again, I realize most coaches are going to take the first down. I just think you contextualize everything. You did not have an offense tonight that ever looked like a juggernaut, looked elite. They were struggling. The offense was struggling tonight. I mean, 10 points to the first half. Points that are premium. I just don't understand why you don't keep the points on the board there. I don't think a lot of people felt great about the Cowboys going down and scoring a touchdown. They got close, but it didn't work out. Let me keep going here. What's going on with the offensive line? It starts from the trenches. Well, I think there's a lot going on with the offensive line. I think Zach Martin, as good as he is, as incredible as he's been his entire career, Zach Martin playing a little hurt, getting a little older. And then you've got a rookie in Guyton that really hasn't panned out yet. I don't want to sit around and say that that pick was a failure, but Guyton has not looked great this year. I don't think there's any other way around it. That that play, I don't even know how to describe it. The play where he picks up the fumble and tries to keep running. Are you kidding me? Like, dude, fall on the ball. You have one job. Pick the ball up and fall. Field and fall. That is your one job as an offensive lineman. The fact that he picks that ball up, Guyton, and tries to run for it, thinking he was going to pick up any kind of positive yardage there, totally befuddling to me, and just kind of a microcosm of like the entire season for him. It's just been subpar. Not what you want out of a first round pick. Is he young? Absolutely. Can he get better? Yes, he can. Is he good right now? No. So you've got a few other guys too. Steele, Smith. I don't think anybody is really having a great year. Beebe, not looking good either. I mean, the entire O-line is very, very average. I know it's definitely a stark contrast. I mean, the last 10 years, we've been blessed with some very good offensive lines. Cowboys fans, we've had some really, really good offensive lines over the last 7-8 years. This year is not one of them. It's not one of them. This O-line is very mediocre. I would say maybe even slightly below average at this point. Let me keep going here. Someone says, what's up, Robert, by the way? Appreciate the comment. Someone says, I want to see Dalvin Cook. I want to see Dalvin Cook. I don't understand why they're so hesitant to use him. It's clear that they really don't have anyone who's that much better than him. Like, I like Rico Dowdle, but at the same time, I don't think that Rico Dowdle is a lead running back in the NFL. I think he's a nice complementary piece. I don't think anybody is thinking Rico Dowdle is your three down workhorse back by any means. So I'd like to see more of Dalvin Cook. I really don't know what's going on there. I have not heard the coaches comment on why he's not in there more. Nevertheless, he's not. Tonight, didn't get any carries. Deuce Vaughn got 4 carries. Zeke got a carry. I don't know why Dalvin Cook isn't in the mix. I mean, you got to imagine he probably doesn't know the system as well as the other backs. But at the same time, just mix it up. Like, there's nothing to lose here. Mix it up, please. Let me keep going here. Getting a couple people on YouTube. TikTok will come back to you in a second. Rush was taking a beating. The O-line's definitely porous. I don't think Rush tossing the ball 50 times is the answer to get a win. John, I totally agree. Like, I really do. When you're throwing the ball 55 times, was it, with Cooper Rush, that's not a recipe for success. The problem is you just don't have a run game. You have no run game. Rico Dowdle, I know it was a nice moment where Mike McCarthy crowned him the lead back. It means nothing. It's not going to improve his performance. Rico Dowdle is a nice complementary piece. Like, he's a nice change of pace back. He's not a guy that's a 3-down back. I think a lot of people know that. I don't know why the Cowboys didn't know that going into this year. Rico had a nice season last year, but Tony Pollard took the brunt of the workload. So you had Rico coming in, fresh legs, running hard. Now you're having Rico run, taking the majority of the carries. He doesn't have that same burst that he did last year, and it makes sense. Dude's been overworked more than he's been worked at any point in his career. It's not out of left field that he's having some trouble adjusting to the increased workload. You're right, though. Cooper Rush throwing the ball 55 times is not a recipe for success at all. At all. Texas Repo, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. You're probably happy tonight, huh? Let's see. Mixon, 4-down back, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, Mixon had a great night tonight. He was clowning on the Cowboys at different points. I texted some of my buddies. Like, they just needed so badly, the Cowboys, somebody to just stand Mixon up and just knock that dude's head off. Like, look, I don't condone violence, head hunting, that kind of stuff. Look, you got to do things within the rules. And I think, obviously, that's what I'm talking about. But you needed somebody to stand Mixon up and just knock the dude's block off. Like, he was cocking off all game long, and good for him. He was proving it. You can do that when you're having the type of game that he was. But I don't know. The defense, look, they definitely are not at full strength, but You need some dogs out there. I think they've got a few. I'm not trying to say the defense is soft. They got some dogs out there, but it's only a few people. It's only a few people. He did take a couple of shots. Mixon did take a couple of shots in there, 100%. And that's what you got to do when a back is showboating, having fun out there like that. I mean, look, I'm not a guy. I'm not old man, get off my lawn. Don't ever celebrate. Don't have any fun out there. In fact, look, if you're feeling it and you're backing it up, go ahead. Look, they got to stop you. That is how I feel. So what Mixon was doing didn't bother me in terms of like that's disrespectful. But as a competitor, as a guy that's played many sports throughout my life, still coaches, the competitor in you wants to shut that down. And I was just so badly hoping that somebody was going to step up and really be a part of shutting Mixon down, but was not meant to be. He had a great game. Props to him. Respect to him. 100%. Let me keep going here. Let me see. Jason Garrett made it about the trenches. Look, Garrett wasn't the answer either. But look, the trenches were better with Jason Garrett. We can agree on that. I don't think Jason Garrett was that much better than Mike McCarthy. I think they're basically about even. I don't rate Mike below Garrett. I don't rate Garrett above Mike. I think they're basically about even. If I could just be honest there, I don't think either one is that big of an improvement over the other. Let me keep on going here. Let's see. We need Jerry to draft Sanders' son, hire his dad as head coach. Wouldn't that be the move? So you've got Mike out, Dion in, Shador drafted. Look, I wouldn't be mad at that, but it's not going to happen. I mean, you would have to trade Dak. Maybe they're willing to do that. At this point, what's tough about the Cowboys and the coaching search is whoever comes on essentially has to be good with Dak. And I think a lot of coaches, a lot of the young coaches, think about a Ben Johnson, for example, with Detroit right now, right? Outstanding offensive coordinator. Is Ben Johnson really going to want to hitch his wagon to Dak? Like if I'm Ben Johnson trying to be a head coach, I want a lot of say over who my next quarterback is. And wherever I'm going, I need to know 100% that I feel good about my quarterback. And I don't know how many people really look at Dak and feel great. I would love to hear the honest opinions behind closed doors. You're not going to get it in the media, but I would love to hear the honest opinions. I really don't think a lot of new coaches look at Dak Prescott. And I'm not saying Dak is trash. I'm not of that mindset. I think Dak is right in the middle of the pack. I don't think he sucks. I don't think that he is amazing or elite. I think he's pretty much right in the middle. I don't think a lot of head coaches, though, are going to want to hitch their wagon to Dak Prescott. I think a lot of coaches who would be interested in taking a job like the Cowboys would want to have a lot more say over who your quarterback is going to be. Let me keep going. We tanking for Travis Hunter. Look, I would definitely be interested in a guy like Hunter, but I think he's one of those guys where, yeah, if he's still available and he's the best player available, of course you take him. I don't know if it's a huge pressing need in comparison to some other places. I think the Cowboys would probably be better at upgrading their line, either defensively or offensively. Probably offensively would be my preference. I think if the Cowboys get a high draft pick, they're either taking a lineman or they're probably trading it away and then still taking a lineman. That's what I think. I would be shocked if they take Shador or Travis Hunter or any of those guys. Let me keep going. We're coming for that number one pick. Indeed we are, Cowboys Nation. Indeed we are. Let me keep going here. I'm going to try and fast forward. It sent me all the way to or backtrack, I should say. It sent me all the way to the bottom. You still got Jerry, though. Yup, that we do. Still got Jerry. Can't trade the owner, unfortunately. Yeah, let me see here. I'm trying to go through as many as I can. Coach is not the problem. Disagree. I don't think Mike is the entire problem. TJ, don't think that is an accurate statement. But to say that Mike McCarthy isn't any bit the problem, I don't think that that's accurate either. I think you've seen some of the things that Mike has done this year there's some head scratching moments, no doubt. Dak never looked happier than sitting in the booth tonight. Daniel, what's up, man? Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. Dak in the booth. A lot of the times you see those guys on the sideline. I don't know. You don't want to read too much into stuff like that, but yeah, I'm sure watching the beating that Cooper Rush was taking, I'm sure it was more comfortable in the booth. Let me keep going here. Zimmer. Yeah, look, I know last week I kind of tried to give Zim a little bit of a pass. Look, he doesn't have his full strength defense right now, so I get it. But for me, Mike Zimmer, I don't think he's going to be around with a new coach. Like if Mike McCarthy goes, I think Zimmer's gone too. Let me keep going. We'll keep rolling down further. Yeah, we all do know the problem already, no doubt. No doubt. What's up with the team? Injuries and no additions in the offseason. That's probably the two main things. You didn't upgrade in the offseason and ton of injuries this year. Get rid of Dak. Yeah, look, that would have been the move. I mean, look, I don't know if Jerry Jones in his heart of hearts is regretting the Dak decision at all, but I do not think that was the best move. I don't think that was the best move to re-sign Dak for 4 years. I understand the rationale. There was not an immediate replacement. There wasn't an obvious upgrade. Yeah, maybe you draft somebody, but at the same time, don't know how much better the Cowboys would have been able to get than Dak this year. I think you could have rolled with him in his last year going into free agency, like just let Dak do the lame duck year. In fact, if they would have done that this year, they might have been able to get Dak a little cheaper. I still think even coming off the injury, he probably would have been able to get 55, 60 million. But nevertheless, you do kind of wonder what, what are they really thinking about that Dak contract at this point? I don't know. All right, I'm going to keep rolling here. Jerry Jones got hustled out of a lot of money this year and all the money he gave Dak Prescott. Yeah, look, Jerry has not made some good moves of late. I mean, with the contracts, draft picks, I really do agree, Jalen. I think that he should have let Dak become a free agent. There's always the chance that you could re-sign him. But I think that if somebody wants to give Dak a bundle of cash, if Carolina, if whoever, name a franchise that needs a QB, if the New York Giants want to give Dak the bag, let them give Dak the bag. Like that honestly is my opinion and was my opinion with Dak. I can give a rationale for why they should have signed him, but honestly, my preference would have been move on and see what he does this year in his last year of his contract. And then you've got everything wide open to you in the next year in 2025. Let me keep going. We've got Dion is not coming. Yeah, Jalen, I don't see Dion being a guy that is probably going to be heading to Dallas. It's a nice thing to think about. It gets the headlines, but I don't see Dion coming. I do think there's going to be a coaching change, but I agree. John, this is actually a point that I want to make with Mike McCarthy, and I was going to go to it a little bit later when we did box score review, but thanks for bringing it up. A lot of penalties, like a lot of penalties tonight. And to me, that is a coaching thing. That is 100% a coaching thing. The penalties and the lack of discipline. I mean, you look at the penalties tonight, 9 penalties for 66 yards. You're approaching double digits. Like anybody saying that Mike McCarthy is not the problem, I don't know. I don't know what you're watching. I think a lot of people would disagree. Mike McCarthy is absolutely a part of the problem. You can't help the injuries. You can't help Jerry Jones not adding anyone in the offseason. But at the same time, you've got to give some blame to Big Mike. You do. I don't think he can escape blame in this one. Again, you go to a couple of years ago, the team was 4-1 with Cooper Rush when Dak went down. Yes, it was a better team back then. This team just looks totally undisciplined and uninspired right now. I really don't know how else you can look at it. Let me keep going. We've got send Dak to Tennessee. I don't even know, Jalen. I don't even know if somebody would be willing to take on Dak and his salary at this point. Would there even be a trade market for him? I just don't see it. I don't see it. D, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the comment. Can Dallas beat the Commanders? No, I'm not sitting here at all saying that is a strong possibility. I'll be watching. And can crazy things happen? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like the NFC East, the rivalry games, crazy stuff can happen. But am I counting on it? Am I putting my money behind it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would imagine that the line has got to be double digits. I'll look it up right now for y'all. What's the line on the Commanders Cowboys game right now? Let's see what we got. I'm guessing 10.5. I'm going to see if I got close on that. I'm going to go with 10.5. Let me see how close I am, y'all. Right now, FanDuel looks like FanDuel has got it at 9.5. All right, pretty close. Not bad. Let me see here. Vegas Insider, they've got it at 10. MGM's got it at 10. DraftKings got it at 10. Pretty close. Pretty close on that one. I said 10.5. The line right now, Cowboys Commanders, is 10. That sounds about right. I really would be shocked if the Cowboys can pull off a victory. You know, I would think that Dan Quinn has got to have some mixed emotions. Like, on one hand, you want to show up the team that you used to play for. Like, you want to beat them. But just because of the down year that the Cowboys are having, I don't know if that same fire is going to be there with Dan Quinn and the rest of the guys that came over with Dan Quinn from the Cowboys. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see. I think with how badly the Cowboys are doing this year at the loss of Dak, I don't know if that same fire is going to be there for Dan Quinn and the rest of the Cowboys as it would have been if the Cowboys were coming in, 5-5 or, 6-4, something like that. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it'll be an interesting game. I'm not expecting a Cowboys win next week. But those NFC East division rivalry games, they can get interesting quick. So we'll see what happens. We will see. Let me get back to TikTok. Keep going here. Never should have signed Dak. Agreed. Jason Witten, Big Cat, thanks for the comment. Jason Witten is an interesting option, I think, at head coach. I really don't want to see them go with a Mike McCarthy type, if that makes sense. I think there are some guys out there that you definitely could go get that have a lot of coaching experience. I'm on the fence. I haven't made up my mind yet. Do you want to go, cutting edge guy with no NFL coaching experience like a Dion or a Jason Witten? Obviously, they played ball in the NFL, but have never coached in the NFL. I'm on the fence if I'd rather have that type of coach or if you want to go old reliable, a Mike Vrabel type, a Bill Belichick type. I'm still thinking about it. I think I would probably lean wanting to see them go with over Bill Belichick. I would probably rather see a Mike Vrabel get hired, maybe a Cliff Kingsbury, a guy that's got some NFL coaching experience and doing a nice job with the Commanders this year. I would be a lot less inclined to hand it over to Jason Witten or Deion Sanders. I mean, I wouldn't hate those hires, but at the same time, I'd probably rather see Vrabel or I would rather see Cliff Kingsbury in the new coaching spots. Let me keep going. Would you rather be a Bears fan or a Cowboys fan? Cowboys, absolutely. I mean, I think objectively, as much as there are a ton of Cowboys haters out there, you can't deny the Cowboys, last 3 years in a row, 12-5. Like, the Cowboys definitely are giving you a better time than the Bears are. That's for sure. This year, it's close, though. It's close this year. Let me keep going. Keep going here. See what we got. Coach is not the problem. Disagree. We talk penalties, undisciplined, game management. There's a lot that is left to be desired with Mike McCarthy. I don't think we need to go any further than the embarrassment that was last year's playoffs. I think Mike McCarthy should have gone after losing in the fashion that we did to Green Bay last year. I really think that was a perfect time to get rid of Mike McCarthy, part ways. I would have been slightly unpopular. We all would have gotten over it in a second. And I think most people, most Cowboys fans, I'm sure there's some Mike McCarthy apologists. I don't know a lot of them, but I think most of us would have been okay with them moving on from McCarthy last year. Tank time. Yep. I think that is the play right now. Appreciate the follows, by the way. Hey, if you're not followed, not subscribed to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. We're here every Sunday or Monday or Thursday whenever the Cowboys play, breaking it down post-game, taking all your questions and comments, giving you my 2 cents as well. I cover the Texas Rangers, also a lot of DFW sports. So, hey, appreciate the follow. Thanks for supporting the channel. No running back will help our running game. Agreed. With the state of the line right now, I really don't think a good running back would have a lot of success. I don't think Mixon, for example, on the Texans is going to be killing it with this line behind him. I just don't. I don't think a lot of running backs are going to find success with what the Cowboys have going on the line right now. The Guyton pick does not look great right now. You spent a first-round pick on him. It's not looking good right now. There is time. I don't want to say that Guyton is a bust. I think that there's some tools there. I think he can get better, but it's not looking good right now. Let me keep going. Cowgirls are done this season. Duh. Captain Obvious there. Of course they're done. Nobody thinks the Cowboys are making the playoffs. I don't know where we're thinking that or getting that. How long do you stay with Dak? Look, I feel like they're going to be staying with him his entire contract. I know some of y'all are saying trade Dak. I really don't know who is going to be wanting Dak. And you're going to have to eat salary in a deal like that. I don't know who's going to be wanting Dak. I mean, name somebody. Put it out there in the comments. I don't know who's going to want Dak. I mean, keep going. Get rid of Dak. Don't know how they're going to get it done. I mean, look, I have no idea how they're going to get it done. And some of y'all are saying draft a running back, like the Boise State running back, who, by the way, had another crazy good game last weekend. That's the problem, though. You draft a running back first round, which no doubt that Boise State running back is going to go first round. Who is blocking for him in front? That's the problem. So you're just throwing him to the wolves. I do not know if they're going to be taking a running back first round. Again, I think Travis Hunter, Shadur, the Boise State guy. I think all of those guys are fun to talk about, but I think that the needs right now, I think they got to improve the line. Like, that is where football is won, in the trenches, on the line. Big believer in that. I just don't know what good you're going to do going and getting a Travis Hunter, and then you've got a terrible offensive line. Zach Martin might be retiring. Like, you've got to go out there and get a key lineman, I think, in the draft next year. And I think that's a big reason why the Cowboys may end up trading down if they do get a top 5, top 6 pick. So, D, to answer your question, I got to say, I would probably think they're drafting a guard or drafting some kind of lineman. It's not sexy. It's not like a great thing for media and for clicks, but I think they got to go O-line. And if you get a top 5 pick, if there is like that type of lineman, sure, go get him. But if you can get a lineman that's really good and they're outside of the top 5, 100% you trade down. 100%. Keep going. We'll keep working our way through. Appreciate all the comments, y'all. Thanks for the follows as well. Keep Dion in Colorado. I don't think Dion's coming to Dallas. Again, something that'll get clicks, but I just don't see it. Trade Diggs. He's terrible. Man, I've talked about Diggs. It's kind of a love-hate relationship with Diggs, isn't it? Like, on one hand, he makes some incredible plays, like what you saw from him last week. That pick he had of Jalen Hurts in the end zone. That's an incredible play. He has that kind of talent. But then you just see him get burned on some crazy plays. You're just like, what are you doing? I think Diggs, again, a lot of teams would love to have him. I'm not of the mindset to dump him or get rid of him or trade him, but I understand the frustration with him. I'll say that. Let me keep going. Ben Johnson. Yep. That's what I would be thinking about, Ben Johnson. But again, is Ben Johnson, if the Cowboys can get Ben Johnson to come, does Ben Johnson want to hitch his wagon to Dak? I mean, I I just don't know. I think it's unattractive. You've got Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, that whole circus, but then you've got to hitch your wagon to Dak Prescott. And we love Dak. Dak's a great guy, good leader, good teammate. It's not hate in that way, but you just have not seen enough to think that Dak is going to lead you to a Super Bowl. And so for me, I just don't know if a lot of coaches, unless you are just super desperate to get a coaching job, which honestly, somebody is just going to want to be coach of the Cowboys. Yes, Jerry. Yes, Jerry. Yes, Steven. Yes, Steven. They'll just be yes men and they'll take the job. Somebody will take it, right? But honestly, some of these guys who are at the top of everybody's list of Ben Johnson type, I just don't see them wanting to hitch the wagon to Dak. Let me keep going. Let me see here. Look what he's doing with Goff. Agreed. Like, I think that good coaches elevate the quarterback. Good OCs elevate the quarterback. And you haven't seen that. You haven't seen Dak really look like himself since Kellen Moore. And I was not a big Kellen Moore fan either. I didn't think that he was terrible during his time in Dallas, but Dallas was one of the top offenses in the league with Kellen Moore. Like, you can't deny these things. But I think a lot of it has to do with great coaching, whether it's the head coach, whether it's the OC, no doubt. No doubt. Parsons is awful. No pressures, no sack all night. Parsons is another guy I think that can be feast or famine, really frustrating. The good thing about Parsons is he draws a lot of attention either way, but he does disappear sometimes. You will see Micah Parsons disappear in big spots in big games when you need him the most. So again, another guy, I get the frustration. I really do. Problem is Jerry, no doubt. I mean, that's a big part of the problem. 100%. The Raiders want Dak. The Raiders can have Dak. If the Raiders want Dak or the Browns want Dak, they can take Dak. Please. Please. You can take him. 100%. All right, y'all. Let me keep things rolling here. Let me go back. Let's check on YouTube a little bit here. Cassidy, what's up? If you're still watching, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the comment. Yeah, Mike Vrabel, I think, would be a good one. I mean, look, it's not like slam dunk Super Bowl, here we come, but I do like Mike Vrabel, coaching experience. Been there before. Didn't really think the Titans should have let him go. You've got to imagine Mike Vrabel is going to be back in the coaching mix sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't mind Mike Vrabel by any means. The Jets would probably take Dak. I would think that Jets, Browns, Raiders, maybe there's some teams maybe that are interested. But again, I don't know if a lot of teams really want to take on that contract. I just don't know if a lot of teams are going to be willing to do that. Why has Mike Tomlin never won a single Coach of the Year? It is kind of crazy. Coach of the Year, a lot of those awards, I don't put a ton of stock in. It's a lot of media voting, who the favorites are. I'm not a big advocate or proponent. I don't put too much into those awards, but you can't deny what Mike Tomlin has done with the Steelers. Like the winning seasons, the job he's done with them this year is incredible. I don't think anybody had the Steelers with only 2 losses through week 11. It's kind of crazy. Really is crazy. The Cowboys beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and that was their last win. It's crazy. I can't even believe it. I was looking at their last win. I'm like, it was the Steelers game. How did we beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh? Don't even know. Can't even explain that one. Let me keep going here. Appreciate all y'all. Let's see. Only person on the line they have to worry about is Parsons, so he's going to get doubled and chipped. That is a reason why even when Parsons isn't having a great game stat-wise, highlight-wise, he does draw a lot of attention. But I agree. He does go quiet. He does go missing in some big games and in some big spots in the game too. But we know he gets doubled a lot. He gets shipped a lot. It's going to be a situation where other guys have got to step up. Somebody that I really think you need to step up, and someone who just isn't stepping up, Mozzie Smith, right? Mozzie Smith, a couple of years ago, first round draft pick. That dude is a bust. And I said it since the beginning of last year when Mozzie was doing nothing at the beginning of the year and they weren't even really playing him. Like now we're trying to play him more and he's just like totally meaningless in a football game. I don't think there's been one signature moment with Mozzie that I can really point out in my mind. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about, though. You back-to-back first-round picks, Guyton, Mozzie, not really working out at this point. And that's pretty crippling. Like when you don't have your last two first-round picks really contributing, that can set you back to the level that the Cowboys are at right now. On the flip side, when you hit on those first-round, second-round draft picks, it can make all the difference. So for me, back-to-back years, first-round pick, not really having a great impact, it's tough, really tough. But Mozzie Smith at this point, I really don't know what you do with him. I would not be surprised if he's gone next year. Maybe last year is kind of like the last hurrah. Maybe they let him ride out the rookie contract. But at this point, I don't know who is sitting around pleased with what Mozzie Smith and a lot really of the draft class of last year. I know Schoonmaker had some nice catches tonight. He's been up and down. Overshown, of course, big, I think probably the prize of last year's draft. But both years, honestly, last year and this year, just kind of meh with a couple of guys in there that have been solid, Overshown being one of them. But Schoonmaker, Mozzie Smith, I mean, those are what your first two draft picks last year and not really having a great impact. Like, yeah, we can pump up the Schoonmaker performance tonight, whatever he had, 5 catches, 6 catches, but wasn't a big fan of the draft last year and wasn't a big fan of the draft this year. It is what it is. Keep going here. Mozzie still has 2 years, 3 really. I would be really surprised if Mozzie makes it to the end of the rookie contract doing what he's doing right now. Like, unless they are just totally throwing in the towel, like we don't really want to pay anybody, so we're just going to ride it out with Mozzie, I guess. But I don't know how you look at Mozzie Smith's performance last year or this year, and you think, yeah, that dude is the answer. He needs to be playing more nose tackle. If anything, I'm thinking let's move on next year if we can. I don't think Mozzie Smith is going to be working out. I think a couple of years, really, you know all you need to know. I don't think that it's super likely. I know there's some Cowboys fans that try and tell me otherwise. Like, you just got to give things time. Look, if a guy is not popping over halfway through his second year, I'm not a big believer that he's going to turn into an all-pro the next season. Does anybody think that? Like, if you're not popping by the end of your second year, I don't think you're going to magically turn into an all-pro. Just me. Me keep going here. Where's our trade wideout at? Yeah, that was a trade that we got fleeced in as well, I feel like giving up what we did for Mingo, like seriously, that was another one, just a head-scratching move. If anything, I would have rather the Cowboys traded away people at the deadline. Like, dump some salary cap and set yourself up decent for next year. You could still have been halfway competitive, but I would have loved to have seen them trade away some guys rather than acquiring Mingo from Carolina. Let me keep going. Appreciate all y'all's comments, by the way. Really keeps the show fresh. It's a tough night tonight. Cowboys lose 34-10. We're going to go through the box score a little bit. I'll get to y'all. We're going to start wrapping things up, previewing for next week. So, look, C.J. Stroud tonight, look, 23 for 34, 257 yards, a touchdown, no touchdown, and an interception. Look, C.J. Stroud appears to have taken a little bit of a step back this year. Look, the Cowboys defense was not great tonight. You give up 34 points. Nobody's going to say the defense played well, but look, you held Stroud in check. Joe Mixon ran wild 100%. That was the big problem tonight. But it's not like Stroud mopped the Cowboys up and down the field. But the defense, look, 34 points is 34 points. You did have the one turnover forced. That was like a complete gift, it felt like, after the Cowboys had just turned it over. But on the other side, Cooper Rush, 354 yards, took 5 sacks. Those sacks he was taking at the end were just ugly, by the way. Touchdown and an interception. Rico Dowdle, the game after being announced the lead back, he goes 10 carries for 28 yards. Woo! That's ugly. CeeDee Lamb, 93 yards, 12 targets, had a long of 29, 8 receptions. Turpin had a nice touchdown run, his second touchdown reception, his second of the year. And that dude is fast. I would love to see them get him more involved. Just be creative, the screens, the quick passes. I would love to see them get Turpin more involved at this point. Honestly, surprised that he hasn't been more involved, but maybe I shouldn't be. It's just kind of how this year has gone. And Schoonmaker, like I said, 6 receptions, 56 yards. Ferguson out with the concussion. Don't know if there's an update on Fergie yet. Unfortunately, Fergie goes out with that concussion. Schoonmaker filled in admirably, but that wasn't the difference in this one. We had, 1 fumble lost, so 2 turnovers total on the day. The 9 penalties hurt. Defensively, Eric Kendricks had quite the night. Looks like he had a total of 14 tackles, 9 total, 9 total tackles. 5 of those were solo. So Eric Kendricks was all over the place. Malik Hooker, 8 total tackles on the night. Diggs had 6. You had, 1 sack on the night. You got to get more pressure on that if you're going to have success against a team like the Texans. 7-4 now on the year. Cowboys dropped to 3-7. I don't know what they're going to do with Rush. I don't think that Trey Lance really does any better for you this game. I'm not a big Trey Lance advocate, so I really don't know what the answer is. I almost think, maybe you go to Lance just de facto. Rush hasn't been that great. Trey will give you a start, see what you do. But I'll tell you right now, I don't have a lot of confidence that Trey Lance is going to come in and do a whole lot different. Maybe the dynamic with him running the football is going to give the Cowboys some life, but I'm not going to be shocked if you get pretty much the same result with Trey Lance. I know he's pretty raw, hasn't played a lot of football in the NFL, got a few starts with the Niners before the injury, and then, of course, has got some time with the Cowboys, but I don't think Trey Lance is the answer. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to him, though. You don't have anything to lose at this point. And if you are quietly trying to tank and get a better draft pick, it's probably not a bad idea to throw him in there. Give Zach Martin a break next week. Don't know if there's a Zach Martin update. Give Steele and Smith a break. That would be what I would do at this point. You methodically, strategically give some of your starters the day off, rest them up, and see what some of these young guys have. That would be my preference at this point. We'll keep on going. Appreciate y'all. Let's see. Any new comments? Let me check this out. Upcoming weekend, the Commanders may hang 50. Whew, that could happen. It could absolutely happen. Wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. But I don't know. I feel like maybe there's that element with Dan Quinn. A lot of respect for a lot of guys on the roster. I'm not going to be surprised, considering the state of the Cowboys, if Dan Quinn doesn't rub it in. Now, look, naturally, it might just get out of hand with the difference in skill, coaching, all that stuff. But Dan Quinn might not be wanting to rub it in. I think there might be a little bit too much respect in there. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Let me see here. Paying them all hundreds of millions of dollars, sit them out, not the answer. Look, you're not going to just straight up bench people. I mean, don't get it twisted. We're talking about guys that are banged up, guys that are injured. at this point, you don't need guys who are injured to continue to play. So a Zach Martin type, a Smith type on the line, guys that are hurt, there's really no need to rush them back. I'm not talking about straight up healthy scratches. I am talking about giving guys rest that are hurt, not pushing them. Really no need to do that. So definitely not advocating, hey, just healthy scratch Rico Dowdle, healthy scratch Trayvon Diggs. No, I'm talking about guys that are hurt and maybe would normally be pushing through, giving them a break. Like Zach Martin, I don't think there's any reason Zach Martin needs to play next week. Like, clearly you're hurt. I don't think 5 days, 6 days is going to cure whatever Zach Martin had going on tonight. Like, there's no reason to get Zach Martin out there and potentially make it worse. Definitely not a proponent of healthy scratch. If a guy's healthy, you should be out there playing. Now, with Cooper Rush, throwing Trey Lance in there, I think that definitely is the argument that I've been hearing from a lot of Cowboys fans. What do you have to lose? I don't think it's going to get a whole lot better with Trey Lance, but we'll see. We'll see. April, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. We need so many pieces on both sides. We really do. I think it's going to start with the line. I think it is going to start with the line. You're going to need to upgrade offensive line. Zach Martin probably going to retire. You have a defensive line that has some question marks. Tank and Micah, definitely solid. But the interior, I think you've got to upgrade the interior a little bit. Mozzie Smith ain't it. I definitely would be a proponent of getting a running back, but I think you've got to solve the line problem. How can you go draft a running back super high and then not give that brand new running back a good line in front of him? So you go get the Boise State guy, then what? You don't have a good line in front of him, he's not going to be successful. We keep going here. Let's see. The line needs work. Every throw looked under pressure. Kevin, thanks for the comment. Totally agree. Got to think they're going to upgrade that in the draft. They'd be silly not to. Caden, done being a Cowboy fan, real talk. No. Rain or shine, we're still here. I'm not trying to give up on the Cowboys. Been a Cowboy fan pretty much my whole life. Not trying to bail on them now, as painful as it is. Look, 36 wins over the last 3 seasons, minus this one, 39 wins over the last 4 seasons. That's not terrible. Like, we got to be real. The Cowboys have been 12-5, 21, 22, 23. This year's not a great year, but let's not pretend the Cowboys have been terrible for a decade. No, they haven't done anything special in the playoffs, but they've won a lot of games. I just have not won a lot of games in January and February when it really matters. Let me keep going. Appreciate all y'all. Thanks for tuning in. This is all Jerry's fault. Yep, should have upgraded in the offseason. If Jerry cared about the team, he would have drafted Henry. Look, if he would have added Henry in free agency, I do think that was the move. Look, I know that there's a few people are saying, why didn't they sign Henry? I think you didn't sign Henry because Jerry Jones was wanting to keep things under control with the salary cap. I genuinely do believe he was just being cheap. There could have been, I think, some moves you could have made to try and free up some space to get a guy like Henry, but they didn't make him. I think Mike McCarthy in the final year of his contract, and I don't want to say that there was like any kind of conspiracy against him, but I kind of wonder, were they just kind of trying to go into this year seeing what could be overcome, if that makes sense? Could Dak overcome not having a ton of weapons? Could Mike McCarthy overcome not having an elite offense in terms of skill set on paper? I kind of wonder if Jerry Jones wanted this to be a little bit of a prove it year. You got what you wanted. Yeah, I mean, you learned a lot, I think. If that's what Jerry was going for, I think you absolutely learned who can overcome and who can't. Dak, we love him, 100%. Great teammate, great guy. A lot of respect for Dak Prescott, the person, but I would not say Dak can overcome bad offensive weapons around him. I don't know that Mike McCarthy can overcome not having an elite unit on paper going into a season with the offense that he had. I don't know. I think you kind of got your answer. So maybe that was on Jerry's mind. Let's be cheap and let's just see how good of a coach, how good of a quarterback these guys really are. A part of me thinks that was the mindset. I would have probably moved on from Mike McCarthy, would have let Dak play out this year, and you see what happens. And if you have a bad year, then you've got your answer. Let go of Dak, and the new coach, whoever gets brought in, you're definitely not getting judged off 1 year. But I will say, I think next year is the year. You got to clean house, get some new coaches in there. You got your core pieces with personnel. Dak, of course. You've got CD. You've got some guys on defense that are going to be around for a while. But you need to have a reset. Coaching-wise, personnel-wise, I would love to see it. Yeah, I got to agree, though. I don't think Jones is giving – I see a couple of comments on TikTok. British and USA, what's up? Thanks for the comment. Jones is not giving the keys to any manager, so we're finished. Yeah, he's not going to give over the keys to a Belichick. I mean, I could see a Belichick type getting hired, but I don't think Jerry Jones is totally going to just let Bill do whatever he wants. I don't think Bill is coming to Dallas. I think maybe a guy, like Vrabel, Cliff Kingsbury, somebody like that, I could see, but I really don't think that he's just going to hand over the keys. A guy that I really wanted to talk about, having watched Sunday Night Football last night, you had an opportunity to go get Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. And I saw a tweet, probably like during the game, probably in the second quarter. Basically, it was saying, Jordan Schultz tweeted this out, there's a lot of regret, more teams not going after Jim Harbaugh. I got to think if you're the Cowboys front office, you regret not going after Jim Harbaugh. First of all, who didn't think that Jim Harbaugh's game, that his coaching success was not going to translate to the NFL this time around? Jim Harbaugh has been a winner everywhere he's gone. Stanford. You talk about Michigan and what he did there, winning a natty. You talk about San Francisco. Jim Harbaugh made Colin Kaepernick look like an elite quarterback. Colin Kaepernick. And that's no hate to Colin Kaepernick. My point is more Jim Harbaugh, quarterback whisperer, a guy that can elevate the quarterback position, a guy that knows how to construct a team and get the most out of them. I have no idea why Harbaugh was not a guy the Cowboys tried to go after. I would have dumped Mike McCarthy in a heartbeat to get Jim Harbaugh. So for me to get that tweet, that notification that some NFL GMs are regretting not going after Harbaugh, who thought Harbaugh was not going to be a winner this year? He's won everywhere he's gone, but somehow magically he's not going to win this time around with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Personally, I think Harbaugh probably would have gone to the Chargers anyways. A former team that he's played for, Justin Herbert. That's a guy I think a lot of coaches would love to have as their quarterback. So for me, why didn't you go get Harbaugh? Yet another thing we're scratching our head about when it comes to the Cowboys offseason. Let me keep going. Can we win with Dak? I think we can win games in the regular season. I do not think that we can win a Super Bowl with Dak. Prove me wrong, Dak. Please prove me wrong. Let me keep going. Let's see. Yeah, Dak, no. I don't think that the Cowboys are going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I do think that they can win regular season games with him. He's proven that time and time again. You can have a winning season with Dak. It's just when you get into the divisional round, the NFC Championship, which clearly we haven't been back to since the 90s, Dak ain't that guy. I hope to be wrong. I hope next year he takes us all the way, but I'm not holding my breath. Not holding my breath on that one. All right, y'all. Hey, look, we about to close things up. Commanders next week. We've got our hands full. Dan Quinn, A lot of former Cowboys followed Dan Quinn to Washington. Jaden Daniels looking real good early on. Look, NFC East games are weird. The rivalries, I really would not be shocked if the game is close for a while. Maybe the Commanders pull away late. Right now, the line is 10. Washington, 10-point favorites. I think there might be a little bit of that mutual respect. As I was saying earlier, maybe Dan Quinn and company take their foot off the gas a little bit. You don't want to embarrass the old team. You don't want to embarrass all of the old players that you coach. It wouldn't surprise me if it's not like a straight up blowout. I mean, I'm not going to be shocked at anything, y'all. Trust me. I'm not about to go and drop a bunch of money on Cowboys plus 10 next week. Don't get me wrong. But I will say, I just think that might be a factor. You've got the Cowboys in a really bad spot right now. Maybe if the Cowboys were super, super competitive and were up at the top of the division, it would be a different kind of game, maybe a little more competitive fire. But with how the Cowboys are right now, it just doesn't seem like there's going to be that same energy there. I wouldn't think there would be with Dan Quinn. He's got to show the Cowboys. Well, they're 3-7. Like, what are you really going to show? And again, the mutual respect with the coaching staff, some of the players, I wouldn't be surprised if you're not trying to embarrass the Cowboys if you're Dan Quinn. Who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe it'll be pedal to the metal. But you see that a lot. Coaching staff playing the old team doesn't totally embarrass the old squad. But I'm not going to be shocked if it happens. I'm really not. At least y'all got the World Series. That's what I keep saying. At least my Rangers won the World Series a couple years ago. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. Speaking of, every Wednesday during the MLB offseason, we do a Rangers pod. So I'll be back on Wednesday night. We'll be talking Rangers offseason moves. Looking forward to that. Come back Wednesday night in a couple of days. I also do Texas Longhorns content. If you're a fan of any of those teams, we talk a lot of DFW sports as well. Please come back. Hang out again. We do a few lives a week. Sometimes I'll put out a short video, something like that. Appreciate everybody that's followed the channel, followed the account. If you're not following, not subscribed yet, appreciate you hitting that follow or subscribe button. Let's keep growing this good community, this good group of people we got talking football tonight, baseball, pretty much every sport I'm down to talk about. And I'm thankful for all the comments too. Y'all are great. Look, we sifted through some of the haters in the chat. There's always going to be those. And look, there's a place for you. You're always welcome. Look, I welcome the haters. There's going to be a lot of them this year, Cowboys Nation. You know it. It's a part of it. They hate us because they ain't us. Look, I truly do believe that. A lot of people, maybe not this year, but a lot of people, you look at the Cowboys, they've had a lot of good years. A lot of good years. No, they haven't won the Super Bowl since the 90s. A lot of great football over the past 30 years. No Super Bowls, but you know what? You could be in a lot worse spot as an NFL football fan right now. You could be in a much worse place. So for me, no thoughts at all of jumping ship. Rain or shine, Cowboys till I die. And I hope y'all will join me next week. Who knows? Maybe some NFC East crazy rivalry game magic happens, and we're coming here talking about a Cowboys win. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I am going to hope for it. All right, y'all. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for all the follows and all the subscribes, all the subs. Thank you so much. Hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Thank you for tuning in. Come back later this week. We'll talk Rangers Wednesday. We'll talk Longhorns on Saturday. It'll be good stuff. Have a great rest of the week. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Cowboys.